Indeed, he speaks Kyrgyz. I think I'm on safe ground in saying that Ted is the only member of his class with that distinction. In all, Ted visited 15 countries and 5 continents. He may be a world traveler, but he had never been west of the Mississippi until he began his studies here. I should note, continuing the small world theme, that Rob Gunnison, Mr. All-Purpose, interviewed Ted by phone when he was an applicant. Ted recalls it this way: "It was not a challenging interview. I thought I was talking to my uncle. It was reassuring. I knew I was in." And Rob doesn't have an opportunity to dispute that, does he? While here, Ted has had a remarkable career. In his first term, he transported a pumpkin pie unscathed to the Oakland airport by bicycle. It was part of a class assignment, and it was documented on video by his classmates. Lately, he has been freelancing video for the New York Times, and this summer he will be an intern at the Washington Post, covering what else? The transportation beat. So our second student speaker, Ted Trautman.
Thank you. Well, that is a pretty tough act to follow. These sleeves don't really roll up, but maybe I'll get rid of this. So I just have to tell you, so I've been listening, I've enjoyed all these speeches, and unfortunately though, it's not that interesting to look at the back of the people who are delivering them. I assume their fronts are more interesting. And so I kind of do what I do when I listen to the radio, which is, I absorb the words, and I've enjoyed them all, but my eyes have started to wander, and you guys wouldn't have noticed this morning, but the moon is kind of over there, and from where I'm sitting with these trees and that up there, it looks a little bit like the Death Star. So I don't know, which is just to kind of prepare you for what I guess the tone of this speech. Boy Scouts plus Star Wars equals the next 10 minutes of your life. So I don't know. Now, really, before I get started, I did just want to dedicate this speech to my father, who couldn't make it today. Excuse me, but to him and my mom as well. I don't know. They have made me everything I am today. So thanks. But anyways, classmates, esteemed grown-ups, strangers. I reiterate, you're welcome to the J School. That J, by the way, in case no one has actually made this explicit, is short for journalism. You may be familiar with some of our more popular spin-offs, J. Crew, J. Date, J. Leno. But as the class of 2012 comes to the end of our time here, it's worth reflecting on exactly what we've learned along the way. Sorry, my papers are getting a little messed up. These hard drives are finally coming in handy. So, and the case too, actually. Let's see here. There we go. So we've learned a lot, and apparently not enough. And I realize I hate to, we have so many wonderful teachers here that I hate to give praise to the same ones that Kara mentioned. I would like to distribute it more evenly, but it's not surprising to me that Kara's idols are sort of mine, because she is my idol as well. So I guess if there's teachers that she admires from her own time here, I guess they're my grand idols or something. But I look back on what I've picked up here, and a couple of things I think that lessons that have maybe made their way through the whole class are Gorney, of course, taught us to wear sensible shoes. Kochi taught us to pick a sensible font, and Susan Rasky taught us to bring our dogs to work. So another Susan Ransky lesson, by the way, although I think a lot of faculty share strong opinions about exactly with whom we are not to fraternize if we find ourselves covering the circus. And actually, I mean, anyone who's worked in journalism knows you don't go straight from grad school to the circus beat. Maybe a presidential election or two, a few years covering Mark Zuckerberg's facial expressions, and you'll get up there. Which is to say that there is no one path to success in this industry, and not even just one way to be a journalist. Etymologically speaking, which is actually the only way I speak unless I state otherwise, journalism is a unique line of work. If you just look at other things that we could be doing with our lives, a biologist is defined by what she studies, right? And a cobbler is defined by what he does. He cobbles, so I don't know if you see that very often. But if you actually pick apart the meaning of the word, journalists are defined by nothing more than the frequency of their output. Journalism comes from jour, the French word for day, so a journalist is just someone with the stamina to turn something out every day, every sunrise. It doesn't say what we do. I've always liked this fact because it implies that the work we do is somehow attuned, and I know this will sound silly, but that it's somehow attuned to the rhythms of the earth. If you think about it, we've been filing these stories for Oakland North, and Mission Local, and Richmond Confidential based on a schedule that is, at its base, determined by the rotation of the earth. So a schedule, in other words, that traces its origins to the Big Bang. I mean, there's something cosmic about journalism. It's therefore the most important profession. So we have a 24-hour cycle. In contrast, I hear life at the AP Saturn Bureau is pretty hectic. There's something fundamentally circadian about our workflow, as hardwired as the human sleep cycle, which is ironic since the J School has a way of making one's sleep cycle something less than human. Mark Oltmans and Chris Connolly, along with, I admit myself, are particular culprits. I find them, nesting in the TV and radio labs respectively, to the point that I consider them more nocturnalists than journalists. But sleeping at school. But it's not hard to see that this definition of journalism, this idea that we should produce a story a day, it's outdated, right? On the one hand, many of my classmates up here have produced, they've concentrated on projects for months, documentaries, both video and radio, theses, I mean, just amazing work. I think for those of you that had the chance to see some of the products of this, I think you'll find the investment was well worth it. So this daily output is not written in stone. And then of course on the other hand, there's the bigger and kind of opposite phenomenon, which, as Kara mentioned, things are getting shorter and faster. So the idea of a merely daily news cycle, of course, is laughable, I think, to most of us now with Twitter and etc. Things that I don't love. And it's quaint, especially for the people whose job it is to actually break news, rather than analyze it, but to pull things out of obscurity and share them with the world. So in effect, we've traded the printing press for the full court press, and in certain extreme cases, we break the glass and summon AL press. The field, the field we're about to enter is thick with bloggers, citizen journalists, and of course, expensively trained and retained reporters like ourselves, all competing for scoops and angles and interviews and eyeballs. And it's because of all this competition that I was initially hesitant to come here, to be honest with you. Before I came to Berkeley, I was an intern at a magazine in New York, and everyone there actually told me not to go to journalism school. Nothing against Berkeley in particular, but they're like, costs money, you don't have money, and you won't get money on the other end. So it's a decent syllogism. But they said, you can learn on the job, and then I didn't get any jobs. So that that brought me here. And then in our first semester here, Harper's Magazine is one that I love, and the first issue that I received in my apartment down the road in Elmwood, Thomas Frank had just started a monthly column, and his first column was called Bright Frenetic Mills, and in it he says, "This might be the worst time ever to attend journalism school." For all the usual reasons, low ad revenue, shrinking newsrooms, etc. But let me tell you something, I am so sick of complacent old men announcing a journalistic apocalypse that never quite seems to come. If people like Thomas Frank think we came here to make bags of money, they fundamentally misunderstand what happens at a school like this. I won't say the J School is for everyone. and I can't pretend to know that it was the best option for every single person perched behind the bushes with me today. But what I can tell you is that none of us here today studied journalism because we wanted to make money. To repeat a theme that I've heard mentioned already, we didn't come here to make money. We came here because we wanted to make. We wanted to make documentaries and websites and slideshows and beautiful writing. I came here interested only in print, and it took all of a week for me to realize how many other ways there are to tell a story. A month or two after that, Teresa Chin and Laura Hautala had me singing along with their ukuleles. I don't mean to overstate journalism's virtues, but at least acknowledge with me that this is an essentially creative, even artistic profession. In E.B. White's famous 1949 essay, Here is New York, it's no accident that when he lists the various kinds of young, worshipful beginners, that's a quote, who are drawn to a city like New York, he automatically includes reporters right alongside painters, poets, actors, singers, and ballerinas. So we're in good company. Clearly, I'm trying to claim as much glamour as I can for my team, but the affinity between reporters and artists is not made up. I can tell you from experience that trying to get started as a freelancer in this business is about as satisfying as waiting in line all day to audition for a part that has already been filled. Before I came to Berkeley, I was working as a freelance writer, by which I mean I was a Starbucks barista. And it was an exhausting chapter of my life. Incidentally, 2 years since, which brings us to today, that Starbucks gig is still the best paying job in journalism I have had. I kept thinking a better job would come along and rescue me from those 4 a.m. shifts and the awful customers and the fact that I told the worst possible lie to get that Starbucks job. I don't even like coffee. But that better job never came along on its own, in spite of the fact that I really, really wanted it to. In every case, I didn't have enough experience or the right connections. My career was repeatedly failing to start just because it hadn't already started. So this, to me, is the value of our time here at J-School. It gives us enough space to get a running start. It may surprise, and so I'll give you an example from my childhood, actually. It may surprise even my closest friends here to know that I have written a book, actually. I have not shared it widely. I wrote it when I was 10 years old. It's self-published, and there is only 1 copy. But all the same, I wrote a book, and that book's name was Billy's Airplane Ride, so even at age 10, I was covering transportation. The book was awful. But in the course of writing that awful book, I received some of the best advice of my life. See, I got to writing this book through a program called Written and Illustrated By, so I didn't just write it, I actually drew pictures, which, not my calling. And so as part of that program, we'd sneak away from class once a week. I was in 4th grade, and we'd get kind of these lectures on pretty broad curriculum. We'd get lectures on how to be creative and how to make something from nothing, which is a series of lessons I've continued here and I'm still learning. But one day this woman came in. I couldn't tell you her name to save my life. I just remember her words and nothing else about her. But she was telling us exactly about how to start. Not how to like write chapter 2 or how to draw, but how to take a blank page and make the beginnings of a book to go from 0 to 0.00001, and it's a big difference. And her advice was, before that vast blank space, that virgin real estate that looks like it will only accept perfect words or perfect drawings, rather than let that scare you away, what she told me to do was to destroy the power of the white. Make a mark on the page or something. I realize that sounds like a Black Power slogan, which maybe it also is, but to take, so if you're painting, take the brush and just make a mark. If you're on the computer, just, I ASDF, just get something on the page, and suddenly it's less intimidating because it's not this pristine thing waiting for your pristine work. It's a mess, and you can add to the mess. So, which is something I've made a habit of doing while I've been here. And I can tell you it works. Actually, for several drafts this spring, the first word of my thesis was the F word. Of course, sometimes this backfires. I did the same thing in college and sometimes forgot to remove that word. So when I said that the value of going to journalism school is that it gives us a running start, this is what I mean. For me, at least, J-School has helped destroy the power of white, or the power of the white in the sense that we've agreed to mean. It's filled the blank space on my resume for one thing, but of course its real value is that it's filled some of the blank space in my head. So now that we rise and take our rightful place at whatever news organizations will have us, Some of us, amazingly, have already found jobs, and to them, congratulations. We lurk because, we're all trying to sort that stuff out right now. But in a few months' time, I don't doubt that, that every one of my classmates will have found his footing in this demanding industry. And demanding it is. Have you ever noticed that the word internship bears an alarming resemblance to the word internment? Also, a group of students here launched an amazing website. People, they're just, making things from scratch, right? It blows me away. So a group of students launched a website called Breaking History, although due to a trademark dispute, I believe they've changed their name to www.historybathroom.fart. And I'm actually not kidding. I mean, the URL, of course I am, but their work was so fresh and so good that it caught the attention of a real-life trademark troll, whose pathetic attempts to steal their thunder constitute the kind of hurdle I suspect my peers will encounter frequently and overcome just as frequently in their careers. But all that matters is that they're making things. All of us are. Working in a newsroom isn't for everyone, and in some ways the friends of mine here who impress me the most are the ones who are creating jobs for themselves rather than waiting for someone to hire them. You've got your history breakers, and then there's Shirley Lau, who managed to create a magazine out of thin air this year, and it's quite beautiful. So congratulations to her, absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised to find myself working for any of these talented people down the road until one of them remembers that I was the guy who was eating their leftover burritos out of the garbage. One of the best things about being here is the time that we've gotten to spend with each other. When people hand me their food instead of leaving me to forage. I've gotten to spend this time with such an amazing, ambitious, and weird group of people. Every now and then someone strolls in, a teacher, a grown-up, someone, and they say, we'll know what it's really like to work when we get a real job, but I kind of disagree. It's hard for me to imagine a harder working group of people here. We've given up sleep, we've given up, vast amounts of time in our personal relationships and everything, and I feel like everyone here has done, they just pretty much work 24 hours a day. And obviously, if you wander into the school late at night, it's pretty easy to find someone here at any hour. So there's proof, I guess. But it's been a true joy to share those rare moments when we are reminded that we are still human. If you prick us after all, do we not giggle at the word prick? No matter how busy we get, though, I hope my classmates and I can remember to find time for these human moments. It's so easy to put off that jog until your thesis is done, says the guy in the black muumuu, or to pass up on drinks with a friend because you're on deadline. For my own part, I should thank my amazing girlfriend Sheena for putting up with me these last few months, and on behalf of our whole class, I thank everyone who has made this day possible. Their thank yous are going all around. I can't do everyone by name, I think, in my little time up here, but I thank our teachers for all the time and attention they have put into making us better journalists, even while they continue to work as real journalists out there. I mean, they haven't left that world. And an extra big thanks to some of the younger teachers who, it seems to me, are working 150% time at 75% pay. Kara Platoni, I'm looking at you. I'd also like to thank our, I don't know what to call them, the grown-ups who make sure things fall into place. Pam Gleason, not Kara, Joanne Straley, Kara, everything. But, perfect. And in particular, I guess I would like to thank Joanne, who has, kept an eye out for me, made sure my T's get crossed, which is important because there's 3 in my name, and who took me aside and said, Ted, you should probably write that thesis, which I did yesterday. So, let's see. And then, of course, and, perhaps most importantly, well, without question most importantly, because I'm looking at you right now, the friends and family who have helped get us here and grudgingly let us stay up into the night in order to get all our work done. I thank all of our parents, the spouses, the boyfriends and girlfriends, and for those who have them, the young children who had to let their parents have some time of their own. In the coming months and years, we'll have to figure out the balance that is right for each of us, and it'll make us both better journalists and happier people. I still can't believe, by the way, that it was enough of an effort just to get through this program, by the way. And as I see my classmates assembled with me today, I cannot believe that Camilla McDonald did this having had a child 2 months ago or something. Emily Bender's about to do the same, so congratulations to her as well. But I guess in the end, the funny thing about graduating is that somewhere we got it in our heads that that word, graduate, means to finish, which is sort of a convention, I guess, but it has never meant that in the parts of the word. It's something more close to measure. You know, if there's scientists among you, graduated cylinders, you know, they're lines. So we're not really finishing anything. I mean, of course, there's a sense of completion, but I feel like we're starting. And what Berkeley has done is taken our measure more than anything else. It's filled us up when we've been running low on knowledge or inspiration. Now it's on our shoulders to put those resources to use, and when we're ready, perhaps a little less wide-eyed to pass those skills on to others. We are neither the first nor the last students to pass through these halls, but there's a reason students like us keep coming. The education here is invaluable. There is, of course, the economy. Don't tell them. But most importantly, as I've been here, I guess I've felt our lives become the very thing that we're always looking for in this field. One hell of a story. Thank you.